Do you ever wonder if the stories that built your favorite characters from decades ago live up to the comics, movies, shows, and games of today? I mean, in a way, how could they? Well, today we are specifically looking at Batman, and even more specifically, Batman #1 from 1940, created by the iconic duo of Bill Finger and Bob Kane. The first dynamic duo, if you will. It's now been 86 years of Batman stories, and we've gotten so many good versions at this point, it can be hard to pick a favorite. I might be a little biased, but comics like Absolute Batman, New 52 Batman, Long Halloween, Hush, and more are some of my favorite comic books. The Arkham games are some of my favorite video games. And movies like The Batman and The Dark Knight, so carefully crafted for cinema by Matt Reeves and Christopher Nolan, end up being some of my favorite movies. All of this to say, does Batman #1 in that OG run compare to what we have now? I'm here to answer that question. Welcome to the Absolute Bat, and be sure to hit subscribe to not only help me out, but stay up to date on everything Batman. And stick around to the end, because we've got a subscriber giveaway coming soon. For context, as I've started this channel, I've been reading and rereading a lot of Batman. To put it as simply as possible, I'm pretty caught up from now all the way back to 2011's New 52, and I've read pre-52 graphic novels and Bat Family member runs. But as I became a bit of a Batman Superman, I felt that maybe I've betrayed the creators of my favorite character by not giving the beginning of this story a look. And I know he came into the comic book world in Detective Comics 27 a year before this, but for this video we're just focusing on the first Batman run. And to give you a feel for the story, I'll hit the main beats real quick. I will say right off the bat, this is a cool comic because it has over 50 pages and 4 stories in it. Really 5, because before the 4 we get Batman's origin, then we get the Joker, where we see Joker's first appearance, the Giants of Dr. Hugo Strange, the Cat, and the issue finishes with The Joker Returns. The issue starts with a 2-page retelling of Batman's origin story. We see Thomas and Martha gunned down in the alley, and days later, young Bruce swears to bring justice for his parents' murder. Years later, he trains to become a scientist, performs amazing athletic feats, and takes down criminals under the guise of a bat. Then we are introduced to a title page, Batman with Robin, the Boy Wonder. And we're given an intro about how Joker lurks about, weaving a web of death, and the only two willing to oppose him are Batman and Robin. One night, as people are listening to their radios, Joker speaks out and declares to kill Henry Claridge and steal the Claridge diamond at midnight. You'll see some age here when you read this closing statement. Joker has spoken.
I have spoken.
Claridge calls to get police protection, and they come to him and surround him in the room with the diamond. This way he can't be killed. At midnight, Henry begins to celebrate, but out of nowhere he falls to the ground and dies. All that is left is a smiling man on the ground. It reveals that Joker had already stolen the diamond and replaced the one that we're protecting with a phony. The next night the same thing happened. Joker announces his kill, but this time he shows up to the scene and sprays Joker gas that paralyzes the cops. Then we are introduced to a gang leader named Brute Nelson, and he tells his men to spread the word that he's gunning for Joker. This is after they lost the diamond thief job because Joker got there first. Once the news spreads, Joker pulls straight up to Brute Nelson's house and is surrounded by his guards. That's when we see Batman leap into action for the first time in this series, and he actually makes a noise when he gets caught, so he wasn't always as stealthy as we imagine him to be today. As Batman begins taking down the thugs, Joker finds Brute Nelson and guns him down, leading to Batman chasing him. Batman and Joker fight on a bridge, and Joker beats him and kicks him off of the bridge. Joker wins their first ever altercation, and the next day proceeds with another kill. This time, Robin is on the case, and Joker captures Dick Grayson. Luckily, Batman tracks him down and is there to save him. He beats Joker silly for the first time and saved the Boy Wonder. But it does take both of them to defeat Joker in this fight. At the end, Joker swears to make his return. And I've just got to note some things about this issue. I thought it was super awesome. I couldn't believe how much was set up in the Batman and Joker relationship. The kind of fights on a looming area where one of them falls off, him capturing Robin and tying him up in a chair looks not too different from the Jason Todd moment. In a way, I just thought this was super cool. But then we go into the giants of Dr. Hugo Strange. The first thing that happens is Strange breaks out of jail, probably from his antics in Detective Comics, on the streets of Manhattan, because we haven't got to Gotham yet. A huge giant begins to wreak havoc. He ends up attacking all of the cops and making a getaway. The next day, he comes back to do it again, but this time Batman follows him back to Hugo Strange's base. As he approaches the base, Batman is grabbed by one of the monsters and held prisoner by Hugo Strange, who laughs at Batman locked in a cell. He reveals that he plans to unleash his monsters and have his men rob the banks while the police are busy with the monsters. However, Batman uses a chemical from the heel of his boot to blow a hole in the wall and escape. He uses his surroundings to defeat the monsters and Strange in the process. Then he goes after the monsters in the city with the Batplane and successfully saves the day. I will say the dated aspect of this in terms of Batman is that he kills two of Strange's men with the Batplane, he kills the monsters, and he attempts to kill Hugo Strange, and this Batman does think out loud in the narration bubble that these men are bad enough to kill. My favorite thing about this issue is that it sets up the Monster Men. This is like a Hugo Strange trope that we still kind of deal with today, that he's always creating monsters, and I love that it's been here the whole time. Then we get to the third story in the issue, The Cat. We get our first Dick Grayson-led story of the Batman series. The wealthy Travers family is taking a yacht out to a huge party and advertises a necklace they have worth $500,000. Bruce Wayne is busy but wants Dick to be on the boat to investigate, so he gets Dick a job on the boat. As he snoops around, he finds a note to Denny, Miss Travers' nephew, telling him to get Miss Travers out of a room. The letter is from the Cat, who plans on stealing the necklace. Suddenly, Miss Travers screams out that she's been robbed, and around this time, the Coast Guard pulls up and everyone feels some relief that they can help. Until they reveal themselves to be criminals after the necklace themselves. After they find out it's been stolen, they lock up the crew and shake down the guests, but Dick Grayson jumps out at them, fists flying. And my favorite part about this story is that he's still the same character he is today. He fights them and has witty comebacks the whole time, like, "Mustn't play with guns, you might hurt somebody," or "I don't like your face, I think I'll change its appearance." In between fighting them, he dives off the boat and puts the Robin costume on. The gang decides they need to head out, so they gather their loot and head out on their boat, but they're quickly caught by Batman's boat, and Robin catches up to capture the thugs. And just for fun, Batman wants to show off how pitiful criminals are without their guns, so he had the four of them fight Robin, who proceeds to kick their butts. After that, the two go back to the yacht to find the necklace thief. On the yacht, they are having a masked masquerade party, and Batman suspects an old woman Denny brought with them, and he has Robin sound the fire alarm. He then sees the old woman running like a young lady. Him and Robin chase her down and unmask her to be Catwoman. As Batman reveals her to be the thief, she offers that he could go in with her and that they could be the king and queen of crime. Batman declines, but as they are taking her to jail, he lets her go on accident, and ends up fawning over how pretty her eyes were to Robin. And that concludes the first meeting with the Cat. What I really liked about this issue is, first of all, she's not Catwoman yet, she's the Cat, which is just cool. Second of all, I feel like we've seen Bruce and Selina meet at a masquerade party before, I think in one of the animated films, kind of referencing this moment. I might be wrong, but it might happen in The Dark Knight Rises too. But yeah, love Dick Grayson in this issue, love Selina Kyle, love that we kind of set up with the flirtatious relationship of Batman and Selina, which is really funny, especially in the modern days when we've got stuff like the Bat and the Cat. So it's like, I like that a lot of this stuff ended up sticking. Almost all of this stuff ended up sticking. Then we move to the last story, The Joker Returns. Not Batman Returns. The story starts with Joker breaking out of his jail cell by unscrewing two fake teeth infused with chemicals to cause an explosion. Batman and Robin hear this on the radio, and now the Joker has returned after their first encounter with him. We pick up on the Joker, who creeps around an abandoned graveyard and slips into his secret lair near a headstone. He calls out on the radio again and declares to kill the chief of police at 10 p.m. And once again, even though the police guard him, he poisons the chief and gets the kill. In the following days, he drops more bodies and steals more expensive items. He continues to call his shots on the radio, and he ends his messages with, "Joker has spoken." Finally, we cut to Bruce Wayne, who is smoking on his pipe, who says, "And I'll stop you. The Batman has spoken. Joker heads to his latest call-out, the Drake Museum, to steal Cleopatra's necklace. Wonder where they got the name Tim Drake. As he does so, Batman meets him there and they figure it out once again. Blow for blow, the text reads that Joker fights with the strength of a madman, and he grabs a mace off the wall and bashes Batman in the head, knocking him unconscious. Another lost fight for Batman. The police run in, forcing Joker to flee, and they decide to unmask Batman, but he springs up and declares today is not the day that he goes to jail, and he makes his escape as well. Meanwhile, reformer Edgar Martin is in the street, declares that Joker is making the police look silly, and the people need to take the matter into their own hands. And what do you know? Joker calls for Martin to be killed, and that's exactly what happens. The next day, Bruce Wayne visits his friend Commissioner Gordon, and they set up a trap for a ruby in the newspaper, and of course, Joker calls out that he will steal it. Once he arrives, they reveal he is trapped, but he pulls out his pistol and guns down the cops. Robin chases Joker to the roof of the building, and Joker leaps over to another rooftop. When Robin follows, Joker smacks him off the building, but he is able to grab onto a pole right before he falls to his death. Batman and Robin once again take Joker together and end up giving him another beating. Joker whips out a knife and goes to stab Batman, but he dodges. Joker falls into a building and accidentally stabs himself in the chest. This is followed by maniacal laughter where he laughs at his own death, and the police roll up. Batman and Robin flee, and the medical team reveals that Joker will live. Another moment where I'm like, man, Joker laughing at his own death and being defeated in this moment. This is stuff that stuck around forever in Batman #1 from 1940. And I have to shout out the last panel of this issue, and I wish comic books still did stuff like this. I know maybe back then, maybe they were a little more geared for a kid audience at the time, but I think we could get younger kids back into comics and, include stuff like this that just reminds you of the simplicity and the good nature of some of these heroes. The last panel of this issue is called Robin's Regulars, where Robin watches a kid help an elderly man across the street. The man tries to pay the kid, but the kid stops him. He says he's one of Robin's regulars, and their motto is to always help people who need it. And then the book promotes the reader to make the world better and become one of Robin's regulars. But we get back to the question from the beginning of the video. Does this issue hold up to the comic books and Batman stories we get today? Here are my thoughts. The book beautifully lays out the foundation for Batman and the Joker. We see that they are two opposites, and even though Batman is the more skilled character in this book, the Joker is too unpredictable to stop like any other criminal. It sets Joker up to be a psychotic killer who will stop at nothing, and I love that. You also get a Batman saves the city type story, with Hugo Strange and the Giants, which I enjoyed. You're introduced to a tease of romance with Catwoman and Batman, with a story that highlights Robin and Batman's teamwork. This book also handles the retelling of the origin of Batman and establishing Dick Grayson as the skilled Robin and faithful ward. The book is a wonderful setup for what we have today, and I think the main difference you'll find is tone. Batman isn't dark and moody, he even cracks jokes at times, but this was just the style of comic books at the time, and I can appreciate how well the art style and tone seamlessly match. I also love the amounts of things in this book we still see today. I think this book definitely holds up, and honestly way better than I expected it to. I was so into it that I'm kind of wanting to read the rest of the Bob Kane and Bill Finger run. Let me know if it's worth it, and if people drop enough likes and subscribe on this video, we'll do the next issue or this run as a whole. I read this on the same day as an issue of the new Matt Fraction Batman series, and to see the difference and the similarities is just wonderful. I made a video on the new Batman run where I cover issue 1 of that. Be sure to check it out and take a look at what Batman 1 looks like 85 years later. And to get back to the giveaway from the beginning of the video, I am going to be giving away a graphic novel at 1,000 subscribers. To enter that, just drop your favorite Batman comic in the comments below and I'll write you down for an entry in the giveaway. So make sure you hit that subscribe, leave your comment, and I'll see you in the next one.